Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thanks for joining the webinar. We're going to begin very shortly. Well, welcome everyone to Back to School K12 Food Service Trends of 2021. We're going to focus on venues, bulk regeneration, and labor today. I'm your host, Jessie Duford. I'm a digital marketing specialist with Lakeside Manufacturing, and we just wanted to share some information with you that we've gathered after months of surveys, combinations, trainings, research. We've identified 3 specific K12 food service trends to help you go into the 2021-2022 school year strong and prepared. I'd like to introduce our speakers today. We have Nancy Lane of Lakeside. She is a senior designer of visual merchandising and product concepts. She is a designer specializing in visual merchandising, product concepts, and knows that a dining experience is about more than great food. She has played a vital role in remodeling college and university dining facilities to enhance customer experiences, improve operational efficiencies, and increase revenue. Mary Sauer is with Multiteria as a marketing manager. She is a seasoned professional with 30 years of experience in the food service industry with a never-ending passion focus on customer support. Mary's area of concentration on generating opportunities and marketing initiatives, as well as staying apprised of current trends in the market to help identify equipment needs. So today, our objectives are to understand these 3 food service trends, learn adaptable solutions, and then develop a retail roadmap for success. So as we go throughout the webinar, please feel free to add in any questions or comments in the comments box. We'll address any questions you have at the end. Mary, can you please kick us off with the first trend?
Sure. Thanks so much, Jessie. And just want to say welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to get right into it. Our first trend is evolving venues. So reinventing how and where food is prepared, served, and consumed. Forget the traditional footprint. Grocery stores are looking more like cafes, cafes more like kiosks, and restaurants are implementing ghost kitchens and switching takeout for tables. Venues are recognizing the need to broaden offerings and experiences to have minimal square footage and contact, but keep the maximum consumer experience.
Thank you, Mary and Jessie. I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background on where we've pulled from some of these trends. We've had over 100 hours worth of coffee chats for the last 6 months with operators, end users, consultants, and industry partners, and they're telling us what's working and what's not working. We also have listened to a lot of podcasts, webinars, panels, and also virtual conferences across all the market segments. This helps us in really defining some of these trends. So as we step into the first trend, we have C-store menu and service expansion, ghost kitchens, restaurant pods, mobile kitchens and food trucks, commissary kitchens, and robotics. C-stores now have drive-through lanes and meal delivery. You would have never thought 2 years ago this would happen. Your gas station C-store now has a drive-through. It's amazing. The ghost kitchens also have seen an explosion in all the markets. Commissary kitchens are increasing in 2021 in hospitals, corporate dining, senior living communities, sports venues, catering, chain restaurants, colleges, and K-12. The commissary kitchen is strategically designed for heavy lifting. This enables for bulk production of meals, meal components, and in turn, it allows the operator to feed hundreds or thousands day in and day out. So you could see that, again, the commissary kitchen, that came from the trends, and that's something that we were talking to with our coffee chats. But a recent report talked about the cloud kitchens. There's 43.1 billion in 2019, and the forecast will grow to 71.4 billion by 2027. So cloud kitchens, ghost kitchens, and commissaries are very important. Here's the hands-free touchless. Again, you want to make sure that you're looking at touchless. Find something that is a differentiator, and easy pickup options and social distance, again, are very important. Here's a hands-free. It has the foot pedal. Again, you can use this condiment station and not have any hands touching that. You'll see a lot more equipment in the future with being hands-free or touchless. And here, this was just yesterday, I was listening to a podcast and having a discussion with some of the directors. And you're starting to see shrinking dining rooms in 2022 and new designs and remodels, even in K-12. Serving large groups in the cafeteria will be a thing of the past. Students want a warm and inviting place to socialize, soft seating areas, more like a college campus, especially in high schools. Grab and go is king and is here to stay. And if you could just take a minute and go over to the chat and tell us how you're serving for summer feeding and what are your plans for the fall? Are you going to be in the classroom? Is it going to be in the hallway, the cafeteria, or is it a hybrid? Is it a different combination? If you could just go over and chat and tell us what you're having plans for the summer and the fall, we would appreciate it. So some of the ideas that you're seeing also in the next school year is that you might in the fall see the elementary and middle schools stay in the classroom. They may have breakfast in their classroom. The junior and senior high students may have social distancing. They may have different satellite feeding or also in the hallways or the cafeteria. So there's no set pattern. We're seeing such a different combination. Again, this fall, you may see AM pickup of breakfast and lunch and then take home a supper. Or in the afternoon, you may have some that come get the lunch and then they take home supper and breakfast for the next day. So again, there's different combinations that we'll see. And also, the micro markets are on steroids. All the market segments from B&I, healthcare to education. They want to make sure that they're looking at pickup options that are contactless, touchless, and getting the food to the customer. So COVID did move this trend into acceleration. The picture on the left is a market bistro that's in a school in Indiana. And then the picture on the right is a breakfast cart that's in the hallway in a school in the Midwest. So again, these little market bistro concepts are taking off in the K-12. And I think you'll see more of that in 2022. And grab and go, again, is very important. You can see here that we have very creative ideas for the food manufacturers and the equipment manufacturers on how you can present your grab and go items. However, you also want to keep in mind to make it very easy for the students to make choices. They still want their own choices when it comes to choosing their food. Pop-ups in the lobbies and underutilized space. This is great for coffee concepts, breakfast grab and go, noodle bars, salad bars, grilled cheese, soup, smoothie bars, and also pop-ups are essential for Disney. So Disney took the same concept and they used it for their parades so that people don't gather in big groups. They have these called mini pop-up parades. And it's the same thing with these concepts. When you want to pop up a small cafe, you want to bring it in for breakfast or again for grab and go or pickup meals. So this is something that you'll see, again, making it very easy for adding pop-ups into your location.
Which takes us to our next trend, which is local regeneration. Main Street is mainstream. Consumers are looking to connect with the micro markets around them and take a certain pride in their hometown communities and traditions. Preserving buildings, regenerating downtown areas, and hyperlocal taste and flavors are emerging trends that look to continue through 2021 and beyond. So some of the micro trends we're going to chat about: support local economies, building preservation, embracing community traditions.
You're talking about using local ingredients and suppliers, embracing community events, engage in local culture, and cater to the regional taste. Today, more than ever, sharing and supporting local community events, whether it's farmers, restaurants that are run by regional chefs, heritage centers, craft festivals focusing on local artists. This helps a small business in building a strong sense of community. Their personal commitment and interaction can lead to improved state of social well-being. I was just discussing with Mary the other day, and she's in Georgia, I'm in Florida. We both have farmers markets, and we really have connected with those farmers markets. We enjoy going to them once a week and meeting with them. And she was even talking about she had zucchini blossoms, which I've never had. And again, it's that connection with your local and the farmers markets that I think is very important. And here's a great project. This was in the Midwest. It was a school district in Ohio, and they did a farm to school and local. It was one of their best projects. So the food service partnered with the science teachers, and they also used a local farmer to donate the seedlings. And then the students planted those grow bags. They were able to serve some of this results into the cafeteria. What a great connection. And here's another example, the farm to fork to the left. This is showing you a nice display with fresh herbs, could have produce on it. And then also too, there's a lot of things happening with spice walls, edible herb walls, vertical gardens, indoors and outdoors. They're creating excitement. It's like a piece of artwork. From dining room cafes, you're seeing more local farm to table. The photo in the middle, I was at a restaurant, it was fantastic. It was a lot of local ingredients and farms that they received their items from. And the menu was just out of this world. And I know one day there'll be, again, a chain restaurant because it's amazing what they had. But I like their little logo.
Our next trend is labor crunch. Traditional operator challenges for efficiency are being challenged by a shifting workforce. The lack of available labor continues to change the face of the food service industry. Operations are beginning to supplement their existing workforce with more advanced equipment, automation, and/or robotics that leverage efficiency through design. With minimum wage hikes expected, operators will be forced to find new and innovative ways to maximize their output. Some of the micro trends: shrinking workforce, engagement and retention, accommodating schedules, and minimum wage conversations.
So with the labor crunch, you can see that you employ for central commissaries. We were talking about the commissaries in the beginning, how important, and you're going to see more of commissaries popping up. And commissaries have been around a long time, but they've been in and then they've been out. And now you're starting to see them come back. Again, this helps with the bulk feeding and again, using it to get your grab and go items out. But you also want to make sure you protect your workers, even though they're not out there in the public. If they're working in the commissary, we're hearing on this labor crunch that workers want to make sure they're safe. That is just number one on their list when they want to come back to work or to go to their new jobs. But again, this becomes very important to them. So chefs are discussing, from one of the panels that we heard, they are redesigning the labor market around the menu. So they basically design a very simple menu and the flow of the back of the house to save on labor. So again, the chefs are looking at, let's design the menu first and then bring the labor in second. And here, when we want to talk about adapting to robotics for prep, you could see here is an example of a pizza robot that can make up to 300 pizzas in an hour. Again, training and cross-cultural, generational, and task training become very important, and engage the community for volunteer if you can. So still talking about the labor crunch, it's really about working smarter, not harder. Operators are cross-training to help with the labor crunch, teaching workers to multitask and assume many roles, not just one. You could also look at the reflow of the kitchen and production and how your different steps, just by saving a few steps, that can make a big difference. One of the conferences that we were attending, they talked about half-size pallets. A very simple thing when you think about it. So when you get these full-size pallets delivered to your door and you have to take everything off the pallet and then put it on carts and move it, maybe switch things to a half size. It'll fit through the door. You'll have to get a different pallet jack, but think about this in labor savings. Instead of taking it off, the pallet would go right back to the storage, and it may be for dry storage, chemicals, whatever you're receiving. If there's a way to get it on half size, that'll make a big savings for you if you can. This, again, listening to all these different panels, it's interesting some of the tips that we've heard across the way. And wrapping this up, so to repurpose, reuse equipment, or purchase equipment that's multifunctional, this will help also with the labor crunch. Great example here is to the right. You can see this piece of equipment would help you pre-sort before it goes back to the dish room so that you're not sorting it twice, you're not touching it twice. And then the photo in the middle is showing you a great example of taking carts that link together. So at this school, they were making 13 trips, and it was breakfast in the classroom, which they will keep in the fall, and they want to keep going forward with that. So once they linked all these carts together, it turned into 3 trips. So what was 13 is now 3. So the manager is thrilled. That's a big labor savings for them. And also the piece of equipment on the left is showing you that it's motorized. That will also help in the future, and you'll see more of that happening from your equipment manufacturers, and getting things that are easier for you to move around. Instead of having 2 people taking it and moving it, you might just have to have 1. So that will also save on labor. So in wrapping up, I know we want to say thank you again for attending, and we're going to be able to take questions and have an open discussion about some questions. But we want to have some takeaways for you also. Look at ways to save steps on production or delivery for labor. Also get your team together and ask them. They have some great ideas and sharing on labor savings. And then back of the house and cross training for front of the house is a great way to save. We've seen quite a few different, I think now more than ever, you see people working together, and it might be transportation is now working with food service and vice versa. So when you need help, you guys can cross train over. Have a game plan in place, be ready to pivot and be flexible for the fall and the reopening. delivery for the food and making sure that you can get remote feeding. You already have a blueprint in place. Make sure that you have it ready for this fall. Grab and go is here to stay. Make sure the packaging, you have some fun ideas, and make sure it's easy for the students to see their choices. Equipment that delivers and can be repurposed. That is very important. So hopefully there's some takeaways from this. And now we're going to be having a discussion with a few questions.
Thanks, Nancy and Mary, for these great trend highlights. We do have, Nancy, a couple comments to your question earlier on what service will look like. It looks like cafeteria service. Some are not having summer service. In the fall, it looks like some are going to be back to line service, but with 3 feet distancing and then students being masked.
Okay.
And then as far as a couple of questions here, kind of hitting back on the labor, we all know labor is a constant challenge, and even more so today. So what are some simple changes that directors and food service staff can make to save on labor?
One thing that we're hearing here just recently is that this will get better as we get closer to the fall. We just saw a great article that came across that one of the school districts has a bus, and they're going to go out into neighborhoods to help recruit. And again, they'll have HR on the bus, and they'll have somebody else to help you explain a little bit about food service. It's a great opportunity to get people to work, and with a great organization, being able to be home with your kids or have shorter hours, not working nights and weekends. So again, I think the labor crunch is going to iron out. But one of the things, again, we talked about is working between, different, like transportation is working with food service, or cross training is so important. So if you've got somebody that's going to be out in the front of the house and also trained in the back. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And again, when you get your staff together and you start brainstorming with the team, it's amazing what they come up with. They come up with some of the best tips.
Thanks, Nancy. So how about for schools that are considering mobile options and pop-ups and pop-up cafes? It's kind of a matter of like, where do those go? So how would operators and directors find underutilized spaces in their schools?
Well, I would say, after speaking with many directors, like Nancy said, a few directors who have implemented a successful pop-up, what they did was they studied student flow patterns. So they looked in the lobby, in a stairwell outside the cafeteria, a corner of outside the library, where students go about their day, even outside atrium where students gravitate for a break or lunch. So they started there, and then with having mobile equipment, if they set it up in one location and they saw that it wasn't capturing enough participation, they moved it and tested another location until they were satisfied and saw a surge in participation. Many times they said it was trial and error. They also promoted it on social media and get students involved, because the students, as you know, can make or break participation in your program. So by doing all those things, they found a successful place, to put a pop-up.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mary. That, we've seen such great success stories with the pop-ups, getting them outside the cafeteria and capturing that, again, the traffic flow. But students can be pretty savvy. They like it. They might not want it when they get off the bus. They may not want it in the middle of the hallway. But when you find that the right spot, it's perfect, and you can see a huge increase. And even though during COVID, a lot of these pop-ups were put in storage until they could get through COVID, students are asking when they will have them back. When will the coffee shop be back? We can't wait. So they are bringing everything back this fall, most of the ones that have pop-ups.
Yeah, and in fact, I spoke to a director yesterday who's looking to implement a mobile grab-and-go supper pop-up where they can have warm meals, where the student can grab it on the way out the door and take the dinner home. So they're getting very creative in where they're putting these pop-up cafes.
Yeah, the mobile equipment is really making it easier so you can move things around. You can set it up and have it ready to go. and then tear it back down and move it to another location. In fact, the one that we showed you in the picture, we used that 4 or 5 times at one high school in one day at different locations. So again, pop-ups can be very easy for you to navigate through.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Nancy and Mary, thank you both so much for answering a couple questions and for sharing such great trends. We want to thank everyone on the webinar for attending. We will send out a recording of the presentation as well as a PDF version so you can share it with your colleagues. And we should get out to you in the next couple of hours here. So we thank you so much and look forward to talking to everyone again soon.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.